Hi, guys. I want to do a deep dive today on habits and time. So, a lot of people say, that's great for you, but I don't have the time to do that. I just did a short video on my YouTube, and I anticipate when I listed out some of the things I do, that being the response. And the only reason why I anticipate that is because that would have been my response. And the only thing I have to use as my guideline in helping you is where I was at the beginning of my journey. And at the beginning of my journey, I would hear people do these things and I would think, well, that's your reality, but I can't make that work in my life. My life is too busy. I have too much going on. I can't get up that early in the morning. I had all of these reasons why it wouldn't work. And then I listened to a Mel Robbins podcast. And if you don't listen to Mel Robbins, I think she's great. I highly recommend her. And I also read the book Atomic Habits. Those two things together changed my entire perspective on this topic. I loved listening to Atomic Habits. So if you're busy and you don't have a lot of time, listen to it on your way to work, listen to it on a long drive, listen to it while you're getting in some exercise, or even while you're getting ready in the morning, listen to it. And we'll talk a lot about what I'm even saying right now as I deep dive into this, because habits are a complicated mind shift that seem easy. And it's really not, because the habits we have, and we all have them, think about how you go about your morning when you get out of bed. I bet if you look at it each day, there's very little variation. You get out, like if you're me, you get out of bed, you go into the bathroom, you take care of things, you brush your teeth, you put in your contacts, you wash your face, you put on your face creams for the day, start to fix your hair, maybe you showered, all of the things. And you do it in a specific order because it's the way you've always done it. And you don't think about it. You're on autopilot doing your habits. You can shift habits the exact same way that these habits became the thing that you do without thinking. When you were a little kid, your mom had to tell you, or your caregiver had to tell you, brush your teeth. Don't forget to brush. Did you brush your teeth? Don't forget to brush your teeth. Nobody's on your shoulder saying, did you brush your teeth? Don't forget to brush your teeth. Did you brush your teeth? But in the beginning, that wasn't the case. You needed that reinforcement to do it. Habits shifting is the same regardless of what the habit is. So, let's talk about the concept of time. I don't have enough time. I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to food prep for the week or meal plan for the week. I don't have time to sit down and analyze what my habits are. My life is busy. And I understand we all have busy lives. And it comes in waves. Sometimes we're busier than others. And, we can't just only be staying true to our habits when we're on that easier time. We've got to create habits that we can sustain regardless of the time demands. So when we're looking at what are our habits, what are our habits that are working for us, that are working, like brushing our teeth, putting in our contacts, washing our face, those things work for us. But what are the habits that aren't working for us? So if you are anything like I was in the beginning of my journey, I was terrible about scrolling on my phone. First I was terrible about hitting snooze all the time. And this is where Mel Robbins comes in. I was terrible about hitting snooze all the time. And then I listened to this Mel Robbins podcast, and she was talking about this. And she was saying, and I'm sure if you're a Mel Robbins person, you know what I'm talking about, her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But when you hit snooze, before you've even gotten out of bed, you've basically said, I don't want to do this day. I don't even want to start it. I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. And you don't realize that's what you're saying when you hit snooze. At least I didn't. But when she said that, I thought, That's true. I'm not excited to get out of bed in the morning, and I should have a life. I'm excited to get out of bed to go live. And if I'm not living that life, what do I need to shift so that I am? And that was a big wake up call for me when that happened. I was just like, yeah, there's a disconnect here. I'm already starting with an energy that isn't positive. So I would doom scroll. That's what everybody calls it. I don't know if it resonates with me, but I do find there is a lot of negative information or a lot of comparison that I do when I'm scrolling on my Instagram. And I've worked really hard to change my algorithm so I get more positive things coming in, which is also tempting to scroll through. But I try most days to not scroll on my phone. And I'm doing that because I keep my phone on that's the side of the bed I'm on. I try not to doom scroll. I try not to scroll. And it's easier than said than done a lot of the time. But because I am shifting my habits, instead I reach for my phone and I put on a meditation, a guided meditation. And I try to do a guided meditation every morning before I get out of bed. It doesn't have to be long, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on, where I am in the morning. Do I need to get up? Do I need to be on a quicker track this morning, or do I have more luxury of time this morning? So, and we'll go back to the time thing here in a second. I know I'm going back and forth. But am I using that time to feed my energy in my mind, or am I using that time to further avoid starting my day? Because it's really what we're doing when we're scrolling. We're in avoidant mode still. We're still finding a way to not start our day. We're disengaging, or we're checking our email. So now we're letting stress in, or we are checking our bank account. And like today, I did this. I did not live my habit today. I checked I did do some of the things, but I checked my bank account while I was still in bed. And I realized, it didn't end up being a big deal, but I realized I had moved some money from one account to another account because I knew I had like a bill coming. So I just moved some money around. And in the hurriedness of yesterday, I've had all kinds of tech problems this week, you guys, but that's a story for another day. That's why we haven't gotten into diet culture on this video yet. Anyway, that's not the point. In whatever was going on, I transferred the money and then I immediately transferred it back. So I'm checking this account and I'm like, what is going on? It canceled itself out, but I didn't do that. I didn't realize I had done it. So then I checked the other account and I'm like, what did I do yesterday? Like, what was I thinking? And everything was fine, but it caused about 5 minutes of stress as I'm like, what happened? Did this money not hit? Is this money lost in space? Like, what happened? And then, once I had resolved it, I calmed back down. But it hijacked me right away. It hijacked me. So my energy started out like, versus, So I was coming from a panicked place when I was going to look into this issue. Like, did I send it to the wrong place? Like, what did I do in your worst case scenarioing? Because I wasn't centered yet for my day. So I wasn't in a place that was able to logically look at this and go, oh, well, yeah, of course, this is what I did, because yesterday, of course I did. It was a crazy technology day, and everything that could go wrong with technology did all week. Hopefully not now. Hopefully this video is one that saves. Anyhow, so back to time. So you're saying maybe I don't have time to meditate in the morning. That's nice for you, but I don't have time for that. But you have time to doom scroll. You have time to hit snooze. So you do have time. It's where you're prioritizing your time. And that was a big lesson I had to learn. And I learned that when I was listening to Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits really helped me reframe my viewpoints around time and how I was spending it. Because I was one of those people, it's like, I don't have time. And when I really sat down and took the time to do a time study of how I was spending the most important part of my day, which was when I first woke up, I saw that, wow, I was hitting snooze for 30 minutes. And then I was scrolling on my phone for another 10 to 20 to 30 minutes. That's an hour of time. And even if yours doesn't look like that, yours might be a shorter amount of time. Maybe yours is 20 minutes of wasted time, a couple of 5-minute snoozes, and then 10 minutes of scrolling or checking accounts or checking email. That's 20 minutes. I'm only saying I do a meditation for 5 to 10. You're still ahead if you weren't doing those things that maybe aren't serving the version of yourself you aspire to be in a positive way. So we've already found like 20 minutes of time on the low end and maybe 45 minutes on the high end. So how can you then use that time more effectively? Well, here's a few things to think about. Starting our day centered is really, really important. Putting habits in place that support us, starting our day where we start in control. The day isn't happening to us. We are happening to that day. Remember, I've talked about being the calm in the storm. Well, how do we do that? This is how we do that. We start in control from the second that alarm goes off. We don't hit snooze. We don't necessarily have to jump out of bed right away, like Mel says, but we jump into our day right away. So we say, okay, I have all the stagnant air from the night before. I need to breathe. That's one thing yoga taught me. And I love yoga at 6 a.m. I'm not saying you need to do this, but for me, I love yoga at 6 a.m. for a lot of reasons, but here are the two biggest. I do hot power yoga. When I go in the morning at 6 a.m. and do hot power yoga, I breathe. I have all that stagnant air that's built up in me, and I breathe. And I replace it. I replace it with this great, wonderful, fresh air. It's also hot. So I'm sweating, and I'm sweating out all of those toxins that built up the night before. That's why I love it in the morning versus later in the day. I mean, I'll do it later in the day, but I love it in the morning. I feel different after I've done it in the morning than I do if I do it later in the day, because all of that sweat is coming out of me and it's just pulling out all those toxins that built up overnight. And then my breath is further pushing out all that stagnant energy and then pulling in all that new fresh air and energy. And I just feel like a new person after yoga in the morning at 6 a.m. So that for me is really powerful. But in order to make it to a 6 a.m. class, I have to build in time before that to get in my morning practices, because I've done this. When I wait and go, oh, I'll get up at 5:30, go wash my face, brush my teeth, get to yoga because I'm only 7 minutes away at that time of the day, get to yoga in plenty of time to hit my mat and get going. And then when I get home, I'll do all these other things. When I get home, it's too late. I've already checked my phone. I've already checked my email. I've probably already had communication with the outside world. Other than the people that were at yoga, I've probably already returned some texts, sent some Marco Polos, responded to some emails. My day is going. So I have already let my day start to take control, even when I made it to yoga. So what I like to do is get up sometime between 4 and 5. I don't really need to get ready for yoga until 5:30 in the morning. So on the days I get up at 4, this is what it looks like. I get up at 4. I do a box breath, which is 4 breaths in, hold, or not 4 breaths in. 1 big, deep breath in, hold for 4. So I do that for 4. I hold for 4. I release for 4. I hold for 4. And I do a few rounds of that. I love it. I love it. I just feel like the fog in my brain goes, and my body just goes, I can drop in. Then I do a 5 to 10 minute grounding morning meditation. You don't have to do a meditation if you don't want to. Some people, they're not comfortable with that. I am telling you, if you give it a chance, it can change your life. I didn't think that was the case for me, and I gave it a chance, and it wasn't easy in the beginning, but it's changed my life. So I do a 5 to 10 minute grounding meditation. It usually has some affirmations in it, so I start my day out telling myself positive things, not negative things. I get in just that connectivity to myself, and I get really centered in myself. I get my energy really connected to the day. Then I get out of bed, I go do my morning things. And when I brush my teeth, this is a little hack I'm going to share. Some people love it after I tell them this, some people don't. But what I do is I'm brushing my teeth and I'm doing squats. So I try to get in 50 squats in the mornings. Today I got in 50 squats in the morning while I'm brushing my teeth. And then at night, I do the same thing when I brush my teeth before bed. So I'm getting in a lot of squats every day. I'm building my legs. I'm getting that energy going. I'm waking myself up. Then I go downstairs. Sometimes I'm still in my jammies. Sometimes I've gone ahead and put on my yoga clothes. I go downstairs. Oh, I've already, I've washed my face. I've done all the things. I go downstairs. I get my coffee going. I let my dog out. I feed him. I feed my kitty cat. I sometimes while my coffee's brewing, I'll unload my dishwasher, do a few house chores. I've got some diffusers. I'll get those going. Then I go into my office. And depending on what scale of time I'm on, if I did the 5 o'clock or the 4 o'clock, is how long I'm going to take on each of these practices. But on a 4 o'clock day, I relish it. I light my candles. I'm a crystal girly. I love the energy. You don't have to be woo for this to work, but I am. I'll light an incense. I light my candles. I'm looking at them right now because they're lit. I grab my crystals that I want to really help ground in my practice in the morning, and I get out my journals. And I do gratitude journaling. So I list all the things I'm grateful for. And usually, because I'm doing it first thing in the morning, it's the stuff from the day before that I'm really thankful for. And why is this important? Gratitude practices will change your life because it shifts your mindset. Because in the beginning, it was hard for me. It was like, oh, I'm grateful for my dog and my family and my husband. And now it's like, oh, I'm so grateful. I saw that blue jay in the yard yesterday. I had so much joy watching it play. Or that bunny I got to witness, hopping around. Or the birds I saw making a nest. It was so awesome to watch that happen. So I am now training my brain every day to look for reasons to be grateful, to look for things to be grateful for. I'm so thankful. So this is a real live one that I will do tomorrow. I am so thankful that when I looked, that I normally don't, that I did first thing, I'm so thankful I stepped outside my norm because I found this error. I was able to correct it before there was any harm done because remember I moved it for bills and stuff. I was able to correct it in real time, but I'm also really thankful that if I didn't catch it in time, it wouldn't have had a major impact because I did it ahead of time and I had set myself up for an opportunity like that to fail without even realizing it because I did it like 4 days before I had to do it. So there was no stress. I'm so grateful I had the money that even if that would have gone through, I probably would have been okay in that account. I'm so grateful for that. This is real time. I'm grateful I caught it in real time. I'm grateful that I figured it out quickly. I'm grateful it wasn't a bigger deal. These are things I would journal about in my gratitude practice. It's one page about this size of just bullet point things that I'm grateful for. And then I move on. It takes a couple of minutes, but it starts me in a place of gratitude. Then I do something, if you know, you know, but it's called The Artist's Way, got me into this. And I started because, I'm trying to write a book and all these creative things. And so this was, how to open up that creativity within you. And one of the practices she recommends doing every day is something called morning pages. So I do my morning pages. And it's where you sit and you do no more than 3 pages of journaling. And you just write everything that comes up. So it's like sometimes it's a to-do list. Yesterday was a to-do list. I was stressed. I've been not accomplishing as much with all, with launching everything. It's just been a little chaotic for me. And so I feel like my days haven't been as structured as they normally are. And so I was just journaling about that because what happens then? I get it out of my body and I get it on paper. And then it doesn't have control over me the rest of the day because I've safely put it somewhere. Sometimes I get my best ideas when I'm doing this. It starts out as a to-do list, and then it's like, oh, remember when that person said that to me? Why did I feel triggered when they said that? And I'll just start writing about it. And the stuff that I know inside of me, but I never sit still enough to hear, comes out. And then I heal that. And I decide, am I going to forgive this? Yeah. Yeah. Am I going to put it in perspective? I'm going to let it go. And then I'm done with it. And then it's just done. It doesn't have control. It doesn't have power over me anymore because I've let it have its voice. I let it be heard. I decided, how do we need to handle it? And then I let it go. And furthermore, this thing that's bugging me, trust me, because we've got it really safely recorded. So if we had to go back to it, we could. It's not going to get forgotten. It's all right there. And for people who can't sleep, this is a really powerful practice to do in the evening. It's just to, like, before you go to bed, all the thoughts that are racing, keep a journal beside your bed and just write them down. Don't think about them. Just let them flow. Write it down. And then take a deep breath and say, tomorrow, you're safe. You're recorded right over here. We don't need to think about this tonight. And I know this probably sounds, for people who don't do these things on a regular basis, very woo, but try it. Particularly if you are somebody who has trouble sleeping. It's a really powerful practice because your nervous system just needs to know it's safe. And if all of these things you're worried you're going to forget are safely in this journal beside you, it doesn't need to keep you up all night thinking about it because it goes, oh, yeah, we've got it right over here. And so I'll do my morning pages. And then sometimes I do an intuitive card pull to see, like, well, what's the message I need to know today? And then I like to look at, what did I already have planned for today? Because I do my planning on the weekends and I look at my week and I say, okay, this is what we're going to try to accomplish. What didn't I accomplish yesterday that I can move on to this list? And if that overburdens my list, what do I have on this list that I can move to tomorrow? And I then start my day. But I started my day in control. And so why are these things important? And why is carving out time for these things important? Well, here's about the time. I didn't get up at 6 and forego my yoga practice. I didn't get up at 6 when I needed to be at work by 7 because I didn't build in time to get this done. I can get up at 5 to build in that hour I need to ground. So I start my day in control. I can do that. I can do hard things. I've done much harder things than this. Remember that mantra? It applies here. Because you're not going to do it at night. You're not going to do it at your lunch break. Get up in the morning and start your day in control. And why is that important? For your health. Because when your energy is grounded, when it is centered, when you started from this place of, I built myself up, I gave myself positive information, I didn't start myself out with negative comparisons or answering emails with a lot of anxiety and pressure or, looking at all of the messages of tariffs and the world falling apart. I didn't start my day with that. I started my day focusing on me, meeting my needs first, giving myself my voice. I had water. Then I had black coffee or just a little bit of creamer. I asked myself, do I really need that breakfast? Am I really hungry for it? Or am I just still going back into avoidant behavior? Or was I triggered by this anxious thing? I didn't have that anxious thing. I didn't let it have its voice with me yet. So I'm in control. I'm able to make better choices. I'm able to say to the storm, I am the calm here. You don't rule me, I rule you. And here's my proof. You start to build trust with yourself. You start to get to know yourself a lot better. When you're doing meditation, when you're doing journaling, when you are dropping in and listening to what she has to say to you, you hear her, you give her time. You know, a lot of women, you're like, I don't feel heard, I don't feel seen. But how are you not being heard and seen by yourself? Are you not listening to yourself, but you expect everybody around you to do that? If you aren't giving yourself a chance to see yourself in a different light, if you aren't giving yourself a chance to express what it needs, what you need and what you want, is it any surprise the world isn't either? You start your day out ignoring yourself. And then you're frustrated that other people are doing it. But what you're really frustrated about is not meeting your own needs. You have everything you need. You have all the time in the world to make this happen. Go to bed earlier. Well, I went to bed at midnight. I can't get up at 4 or 5. Then go to bed earlier. Stop being a victim of your own excuses. It's hard talk. There are a lot of people out there in this world doing amazing things who have more demands on their time than you do. That's the reality. And yet they do amazing things for themselves and for others. Why are you any different? Why do you think your excuse over time means more than theirs? It doesn't. It doesn't. It's your way to avoid doing the things because you don't feel safe doing them because you don't believe you'll be able to stick to it. Bottom line, you don't trust yourself. And you're never going to trust yourself until you start to shift those things. I didn't until I did. And still on the days that I don't do it, I forgive myself. And I say, it's okay, tomorrow. And then tomorrow I keep that promise. It's the 80-20. See how it all ties together? So you have the time. You make time for what's important to you. You make time to binge watch Netflix. You make time to scroll on your phone and hit snooze. Make time for yourself. And you don't have to do this all at once. One habit shift at a time. But over time, you won't recognize the person you are today because of that future you is going to be everything you had always hoped she would be. I promise you, I am living proof of it. It doesn't have to be hard, but there are changes that have to be made. Gently make those changes. Build trust with yourself. Maybe you just get up 5 minutes earlier and do a meditation. Or you do a few squats while you're brushing your teeth. And then you build. But sit down with yourself and say, what are we doing that's working? And what are we doing that when I look at this, it's really not serving the me I want to be? And then what are better choices I could make? And forgive yourself for hitting snooze. Forgive yourself for saying you didn't have enough time. Let it go. We're all human. We all do that shit. We all do it. Just do it differently now. Recognize it. Let yourself off the hook. Love yourself. Show yourself you love yourself, because who else is going to do that for you? You have the power to do it. You've got this. Let's do it together. This is how we rise.